Turner on him. Up top, Tatum. Shot clock at 6. Tatum, step back, puts up another 3. Back of the room, won't go. Holiday, the offensive rebound. Now the Pacers have to foul. Brown has it. Final seconds. That's it. It's over. The Celtics are heading back to the NBA Finals. And another crushing finish for these Indiana Pacers.
It's over. It is over. The Celtics are back to the NBA Finals for a 23rd time in franchise history. That is right. Welcome into the Boston Sports Summit presented by the Grid Network. I am your host, Tim Barnett, and this is the podcast for all of Boston sports. Thank you for tuning in. And of course, we got to start off with the Celtics. I mean, come on. Sweeping the Pacers, improving to a 12-2 record in the playoffs, going to the NBA Finals for a 23rd time in franchise history, winning 17 of them. So I like those odds. When you win 17 out of 23, it's pretty good. So I just want to go over just a little bit about how the Pacers and the Celtics, this series, I think showed me some, but also left some to be desired as well. So one of the big things that I liked from the Celtics was their late game heroics, right? So obviously game one, it started being down 3 with 8.5 seconds to go. I talked about this last week with Jaylen Brown hitting just a miraculous three-pointer, which I still believe should not have gone in. And then in game 3, they were down 18, as well as finding themselves down 8 with 2.5 to go in the game. And then obviously in game 4, the Celtics found themselves down 9 with 8:57 to go, almost 9 minutes left in regulation, finding ways to come back and win. And that is one of the things that I've been very critical of this team. You know, this team, this iteration of players, I think has this habit of when games are close, especially in the final 5 minutes, down to the final 30 seconds, and it's a one-possession game, they always find ways to choke. They always find ways to blow it. I mean, one of the perfect examples that, dating back to earlier this year that I talked about on this show, was when Tatum just crapped his pants against Jokic and the Nuggets when he had over 4 seconds to catch the inbound pass, make a move, get a shot off, and you could see just his move, his shot, awful, atrocious. And you could see the clock spinning in his head going much faster than what happened in reality. He got the shot off in probably just over 1 second. So when Denver got the rebound, they still had 3 seconds left. Like that's how bad I feel like this team has been when it comes down to clutch moments. So to see them down and hit a clutch bucket, Jaylen Brown with that 3 in game 1, then to see them down 18, which I'll be honest with you, I wrote them off. That's how much I didn't have faith in them. And you know what? I'll take the blame on that. I'm glad they proved me wrong. I'm glad they did, because as I'm sitting there, I'm convincing myself, all right, we're going to go to 5. The series is going to go to 5. They're going to win in Boston. They're going to win game 4. But nope, they stole game 3. And then in game 4, obviously, they were down 9, and they still got to it. They I don't want to say persevere, because I feel like that sounds like, too strong, but they pushed Indiana to their brink, and they came out on top. Now, the one thing that does have to be said is you played the Heat without Jimmy Butler. You played the Cavs without Donovan Mitchell for the final 2 or 3 games. I think it was final 2 games. And then in this series, the Pacers were without Tyrese Halliburton for games 3 and 4. And yet Indiana gave you a better performance in games 3 and 4 without their best player. And so that also goes to the fact of, what can this Celtics team actually do it? That's where I am glad that, hey, their late game heroics seem to have gotten better. They seem to have been, they seem to relax more in those final stretches of the games when it's tight, when you know you need that bucket to tie, to go ahead, and you find yourself down, you come back, all of those, right? It was great. They looked good. But at the same time, again, it's without Tyrese Halliburton. It's without Donovan Mitchell. It's without Jimmy Butler. And ironically, both times against the Cavs and the Pacers, that very first game where they were without their best player, that team gave you a better performance. And I'm not sure if it was the team performing better or if it was the Celtics playing down to their competition, realizing they don't even have their best guy, and we're loaded. So we're just going to show up and shoot a couple hoops, and that's going to be the end of it, right? Well, turns out those teams performed better. Now, of course, Pacers down the stretch in game 3, which arguably was Indiana's best game of this series, they pissed it away. And they also pissed away game 1, which was with their best player, and it was a good game. I don't think Indiana's best game was game 1. I think it was definitely, second best, but their best game was game 3, and you just, you stayed in it. You realized, hey, we're down 18. It's the fourth quarter. We still have plenty of time left. And they did. And they pulled it out. So the thing that I wanted to discuss is, everybody keeps talking about the path that the Celtics have been on, with the Heat without Jimmy Butler, the Cavs without Donovan Mitchell, the Pacers without Tyrese Halliburton. And first and foremost, I just want to say this, that injuries happen. Look, we were without Kristaps Porzingis for, at this point, a majority of the playoffs, right? Because he got hurt against the Cavs in the middle of the Cavs series. So we have been without arguably our best big man for half of the playoffs so far. And yet we still found ways to win. So to sit here and say that, oh, well, the Celtics get no credit and that it's been such an easy path, which it has been, I'm not going to lie, but it's to sit here and, say that it's been so easy and that the Celtics would have gone 7 a couple of times and that, had this guy been, well, you know what? Injuries happen. Okay. That's something you just cannot sit there and tell me that it's been easy and that the Celtics haven't proved anything, because the superstars on the last 3 teams have been injured at some point during the series, if not the whole series. So that's where I respectfully disagree. Now, has the path been easy? Yes. But how easy has it been? Has the path been easy? Or have the Celtics, are they just so deep and so good that they make it look easy? Again, Series 1 and Series 2, I have said time and time again that Celtics did their job. I wasn't worried. Again, one of the contributors on the Grid Network, Mike Guido, he's a big Cavs fan. He hit me up after game 2 when the Cavs beat the Celtics. And I said to him in response, I went, Mike, the Celtics did you a disservice by getting your hopes up. And they did. I thought that was just so bad because it's like, oh, look, the Cavs are in it now. It's a 1-1 series. Same thing happened with the Heat. 1-1 series. Guess what? Celtics rounded off 3 in a row. And now with this, they showed me that their late game situation has gotten better. Now, when you go up against, I don't want to say real teams, but when you go up against, either Minnesota or Dallas, are they going to be the same? Is it going to work itself out in that way? And this path that the Celtics have been on, let's not forget, like everyone wants to say, oh, they beat these 3 40-win teams. Okay. The Heat, 46-win team. The Cavs, 48-win team. The Pacers, 47-win team. All right. And obviously, without Butler, Mitchell, and Halliburton for some, if not the whole series. Totally get it. But I want to look at the Nuggets from last year. Okay. The Nuggets, when they won it all last season, they beat a 42-win T-Wolves team in 5 games. Okay. But that was a young Anthony Edwards, a year early Anthony Edwards, who the Nuggets just handled with ease. He wasn't Ant-Man. He wasn't the dude that we're seeing now. Like he was still a good player. He helped the T-Wolves get to the playoffs, but they lost to the Nuggets in 5. It was, again, Jokic and Murray just made it too easy. Then they beat a 45-win Suns team in 6 games. All right. Then they swept a 43-win Laker team, which, again, with the Lakers, I'm sorry. LeBron is old. Anthony Davis has his ups, his downs. Like, he is all over the board. So you can't say to me that that Laker team, even with LeBron and AD on it, would be the same Laker team if it was LeBron and AD in 2015, let's say. You can't convince me of that. So to sit here and be like, oh, well, they beat LeBron. Yeah, they beat LeBron. But he's also, how old? He's been in the league for how long? Dating back last year. So that's why I'm like, spare me. Plus, they were able to face off against an 8th seed Miami Heat who had 44 wins in the NBA Finals. And just absolutely dominated them. And that's why, listen, the Nuggets are a good team. They're a very good team. Nikola Jokic is deserving of, honestly, being the MVP for the last 4 years. That's how good he is. I am not blind. I agree that Denver is a very good team. And I think it was kind of a fluke, almost dating back to the 86 Lakers losing to the Houston Rockets in 86 to play the Celtics, But the way I look at it, as the Celtics are now going to be going up against one of 2 teams that have 50 or more wins. And the Celtics opponents so far in their Eastern Conference run has been 141 wins combined. The Nuggets in their Western Conference run to the NBA Finals was 130 total wins, excluding the NBA Finals. And so, has it been easier without Jimmy Butler, without Tyrese Halliburton, without Donovan Mitchell? Absolutely. But you also have to give the Celtics credit and Brad Stevens credit that this is so deep. This team is so deep that I'm sorry. They should have won. Okay, you want to add 1 game to every series. They should have won in 6. They should have won in 5 against all these teams, even if they were fully healthy. That's how good this team is. That's how deep this Celtics team is. And that's why, you know what? Yeah, I am kind of pushing back on the narrative that the Celtics are still bums. The Celtics don't know how to finish games. The Celtics, are going to fold when the pressure matters the most. from what I've seen, they haven't. And listen, given a fully healthy Minnesota team, given a fully healthy Dallas team, I still think that the Celtics are going to handle both those teams. So far, I think it's going to be a Dallas team because they have a 3-1 lead. Yes, they are playing tonight at 8:30, but I still look at it like they owned Dallas this season. All right, when they were in Dallas, the Celtics won 119-110. Tatum had 39 points, 11 rebounds, and Holiday led the team in assists. Then, literally a month later, they played at the Garden. And this is why I am fearful of Dallas. No two ways about it. Because, again, the NBA Finals, I've been saying since the beginning, are where the Celtics are really going to be tested. But if it is Dallas, when they play at the TD Garden, Kyrie is going to suck because Dallas got their doors blown off 138-110. That's how bad they were. And listen, Luka got his points. He got 37. He was 14-25. But I'm sorry. Losing 138-110 and Luka gets his numbers, I am very much okay with that. Kyrie in that game was 9 of 23 and just 1 of 7 from 3-point range. Like, come on. Tell me, please, that Dallas can compete with Boston. At this point, the only way they're going to compete with Boston is if the games take place in Dallas. And yet, the Celtics still win. Now, that's a regular season game. Does it mean everything or anything? No, because you also have to take into account the schedule, the back-to-backs. I remember, again, every time Boston plays in Dallas, they're playing, in that 3, what do you call it? The NBA triangle there. Playing Houston, Dallas, and oh man, it's bugging me. But regardless, you have to take into account the schedule, how everything works itself out, because Boston could be playing on a back-to-back. The night Dallas got their doors blown off, Dallas could have been on a back-to-back. Yeah, back-to-back, something like that. So I'm fearful, but at the end of the day, Boston should be raising banner number 18 to the rafters at the start of next season. 1,000%. 1,000% should be raising banner 18. And I couldn't care less what people say about how easy the road was, because don't forget, the 08 Celtics were by far the best team in the NBA. Yet they win 7 games with a rookie Al Horford and the rest of that scrub Atlanta team. Then they went up against a young LeBron in his first stint with Cleveland, which was in the NBA Finals the year prior. But again, like when you break down that Cleveland Cavaliers team, who else did they have, right? Like they weren't as good. They were only that good because LeBron, okay? And that was when I actually liked LeBron. I thought he was a heck of a player. I hated it. I hated him in that series, but how could you not? As a Boston fan, come on. And then we played against an aging Piston team that won their title, 3 or 4 years prior, and were relevant. But again, they were old. Ben Wallace was old. Rasheed Wallace was old. Chauncey Billups. Tayshaun Prince. They were old. They were on their way out, right? So it shouldn't have gone 6 games. It shouldn't have gone 7. All right, maybe the Cavs series should have gone 7, but the rest of it shouldn't have gone 7 games with Atlanta, 6 games. They should have been done with them. It should have been an easy walk to the NBA Finals against the Lakers that year. But, hey, everything happens the way it happens. And what were we saying about that team back then? Huh? Were we talking about how easy the path was? No, we were talking about how ridiculous it is that Boston is playing game 6 in Atlanta. We were talking about how ridiculous it is that they're playing game 7 and then kind of breathing a sigh of relief, being like, the hell just happened in round 1? You have Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, and we're going 7 games with that scrub of a team. Again, we have all these guys who were still in their prime, maybe the latter stages of it, but still in their prime. And we're going 6 games against an aging Chauncey Billups, Tayshaun Prince, Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace. Like, come on. Like, that shouldn't have happened. And so then to go against the Lakers, that was a good series. That was where I thought they really were tested. I think, a bunch of it were tests. But that's why I like the Celtics in this. I think they are coming in to this NBA Finals with a different mindset that, they desperately need. And I hope that not only do they pull it off, but I hope that people will stop the nonsense. Because if Boston does sweep Dallas, let's say it's Dallas. Yeah, I couldn't care less. Dallas or Minnesota, regardless. Let's say Boston sweeps them, right? What are we going to be saying? Are we still going to be talking about how easy the road was? Are we still going to be talking about, Boston didn't face any challenges, and that's why, it was too easy for them? No. Or that's what we shouldn't be saying. We should be giving these guys all the credit in the world because, let's face it, they went out, they did their job, they won the friggin' title, and they did it against what was in front of them. What was in front of them is just as crucial as what's on a sheet of paper, if not more crucial. Actually, it is more crucial than what's on a sheet of paper. Let's say they face Dallas and Luka gets hurt. I'm going to be sick to death listening to ESPN for the next 4 months talking about if Boston wins and Luka gets hurt midway through the series. It's going to be so bad, so annoying to sit here and have to listen to, Boston, see, look, they got lucky. Well, you know what? That's what it takes sometimes. Honestly, if you want to talk about luck in the playoffs, go watch hockey. Anything can happen on any given night. That's why when it comes down to hockey games, and you want to talk about luck having a major factor in playoff games, yeah, it does. So now to have Celtics already be ridiculed against for having an easy postseason run, come on, do better. Find a different angle to this. And of course, the other angle is, Jason Tatum hates the fact that Jaylen Brown got the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. Seriously? Can we not come up with an original thought? Do we have to sit here and listen? Jaylen and Jason, they're buddies. They're cool. That's who they are. They're best friends. I mean, I hope so. But it's the media has nothing better to do than to make up ridiculous stuff like that. And I just have no time for it, honestly. If I'm listening to sports media and that is what they're talking about, click, I'm out. I'm not gonna talk about it because it's ridiculous. You have teammates. Who cares? Because at the end of the day, banner 18 is the most important thing. Yeah, I was pointing at Paul Pierce's jersey, but still, banner 18 is the most important thing when it comes to wearing a Boston Celtics uniform. At least it's what I believe. And I think these guys do it too, because at the end of the day, nobody deserves a ring more than this guy right here. Al Horford, 100% deserves an NBA championship without a doubt. So that's really kind of what I'm looking at going into this series. And, the one question that I have is, how is Boston going to lose? If they are so deep, the way I talk about it, if they are so deep and so talented, how can they lose, right? Well, the only way I believe that the Celtics can lose is if they shoot themselves out of it. That's what they've done all year, is if they take games too lightly, if they, just put up 3 after 3 after 3 after 3, when they're up 20-plus points. How many games were they up 20-plus points this year and lost? You want to know why? Because they shot themselves out of it. They're up 20. And what are they doing? Settling for low percentage shots from behind the arc. Not driving to the rim. Not trying to get the easy bucket when they've built this massive lead. Why? I think you know what I'm going to say next. But analytics and nerds. But I'm not going to get into that rant. I'm just saying. That's where, again, you're playing stupid. Go for the high percentage shot. Don't settle for the low percentage shot when you've built yourself a big lead. That's it. That's all you need to do. And how did Miami and Cleveland win games 1 and 2? They had career shooting nights. That's it. Did I say games 1 and 2? I meant rounds 1 and 2. But they had career shooting nights. That's how Miami and Cleveland won each game in the first and second round. So, it almost takes a miracle for these teams just to beat Boston. And clearly, without Porzingis, Boston swept Indiana, which I thought was actually going to be a harder matchup than New York. I wanted New York because I wanted to hate New York like we should. Boston hates New York. New York hates Boston. Look at that. It's a mutual hatred. Love it. Love to see it. But unfortunately, didn't get my wish. Rangers didn't play the Bruins. Knicks didn't play the Celtics. Damn. But I thought Indiana was going to be a harder matchup, especially without Kristaps Porzingis. And so the Celtics, really, they either going to shoot themselves out of it or they're going to play too much iso ball with Brown or Tatum dribbling the ball through the friggin' floor 1,000 times, trying to make a move on their guy playing one-on-one. It's like, you don't. Use your team. You are one of the few teams in NBA history that don't need to rely on Tatum to get his. You can pass it around. Derek White, in my opinion, is the smartest player on the Celtics. That is huge. Drew Holiday has won with Milwaukee, come up clutch with that steal at the end of game 3. And yes, that was a clean steal. That was absolutely not a foul. But the only way the Celtics are going to lose in the NBA Finals is they beat themselves for 4 games. And to be honest with you, I don't see that happening. I find it hard to believe that the Celtics can play good. And not average. They can play good and still lose. And I think as we just saw with the Indiana series, that just won't happen. It just won't. So, in tragic news, Celtic legend, NBA Hall of Famer, Bill Walton, passed away on Monday. And one of my all-time favorite Bill Walton quotes was him talking about how Larry Bird saved his life. And now it sounds like he's blowing it way out of proportion, but you have to remember, Bill Walton was a phenomenal player when he played in Portland and in UCLA under Hall of Fame head coach John Wooden. But he was marred with so much injury, so much, foot issues, stress fractures, knee issues. And all the stuff they had to do to his feet and, just to repair it. And again, this is the 70s and early 80s. Like, technology is not where, we have it today, where we don't have to dig away at the bone. We don't have to do all these things just to, heal, right? We don't. So when he joined the Celtics in the summer of 85, that, in my opinion, created arguably the best team in NBA history. And I just want to show you a quick video of Bill discussing him joining the Celtics right here.
The summer of 1985, it finally dawned on me that it wasn't happening for me any longer, and I had to move on from my current circumstances with the Clippers and get on a much better team and in a much better situation and franchise. And so then I called Red, and I was told later on by both Red and Larry that they were having a meeting when I got on the phone with Red. And when I asked Red if I could please come and be on the Celtics, Red asked me to hold on a moment. And so while he put his hand over the phone and looked across the desk to where he and Larry were strategizing about the future, Red asked Larry, "Hey, it's Walton on the phone. He wants to come be a part of the Celtics. What do you think?" And Larry said, "Go get him, Red."
It's such a cool story. And to have Bill Walton come in, he immediately goes to see Robert Parrish to let him know, listen, I'm your backup. I have no aspirations of being the starter. I just want to come be your backup. And that's like, are you cool with that? And he was. And what it led to, like I said earlier, was arguably the greatest team in NBA history. And not only the greatest team, but the greatest assortion of passing big men ever. I mean, when you watch footage of the 86 Celtics and all they're not high flying. They're, you have Bird, McHale, and Bill Walton on the team. And they're not fast. They're big. But you know what they are? They're smart. They are so unbelievably smart. And Larry and Bill, how they together saw the game, it was like poetry in motion. Now, looking at me, you're going to be like, well, Tim, you weren't alive in 86. You're right. I wasn't. But there's this great invention called VHS, DVDs, YouTube, that I have watched a lot of 86 Celtics videos, because to see the ball movement between Parrish, McHale, Bird, Walton, DJ, Ainge, it really was pure poetry between these guys. And Bill Walton too, like when he got behind the desk, as a media personnel later, oh my God, his listening to him talk, you could listen to that man talk for hours. And the funny part is he talks for hours on one story. So I never had the pleasure of meeting Bill Walton. I wish I could have, but again, it is a tragic day. It was a tragic day when he passed, and it's sad because one of the best big men in NBA history. I mean, there's a reason why he actually is he a Hall of Famer? I don't know. I think if he's not, he should be. Let's put it that way. If he's not, he absolutely should be, even with all the injuries that he had to deal with, and how his career, while he played a fairly long time in the NBA, was cut drastically short if you look at the length of time he was in the NBA versus how many games he actually played. So, rest in peace, Bill Walton. Now, moving on to the Red Sox. There's a couple things going on with them right now that I find, I don't want to say, I find intriguing, but I don't know if it's intriguing or just what should be common sense, right? Because Alex Spear wrote in the Globe earlier today that in an article titled, "In the heavyweight AL East, the middling Red Sox cannot afford to be a middleweight puncher." Well, hate to burst the bubble on you, Alex, but that's what John Henry paid for. That's what John Henry and the Fenway Sports Group want. They just want they want a middleweight puncher. They don't want heavyweights because that would mean more money out of their pockets, which means they can't invest that money into their future basketball team in Las Vegas, hence LeBron James joining the fold with the Fenway Sports Group. Again, could go on forever on that. In the article, Spear points out that the Sox have played 21 games spanning 7 series versus teams that are at least 5 games over 500. So 21 games through 7 series versus teams that are 5 games over 500, which means how have the Red Sox done versus teams that are good, that are playoff contenders, that are like really the teams that you're going to be seeing come the postseason, right? Well, here's how they've done. They're 5-16 and 0-7 in those series. In other words, they beat up on the bad teams, but they lose to the good teams. And with the Red Sox sitting 28-28, only 2.5 games out of the final wild card spot, crazy to think that they are still in it. The Red Sox are still in it. Now, they're going to be playing the Detroit Tigers later tonight in a 4-game series that, well, this is going to be a big one for them because Detroit is in the hunt just like you for the wild card. But what does it mean? What does all of this mean? To me, it means that we're getting exactly what ownership paid for. We're getting a team that has performed out of their cleats when it comes to the pitching staff. The relief staff, I think, is caught, starting to fall off that trend, but the starting pitchers have been phenomenal up until, I would say, fairly recently. But the offense, inconsistent. Defense, wildly inconsistent. You have a manager in Alex Cora who is an excellent manager when it comes to managing championship contenders. He is not a manager for weak teams, building, rebuilding type teams. He's not that guy. And he's had to deal with so much crap coming from upstairs, coming from Kyle Bloom, from what he experienced with Dave Dombrowski. Alex Cora joined the team in 2018, and, Dave Dombrowski was like, we're going for it, man. We're getting everybody. We're going for it. We're going to make sure that we're going to win this year. And that's what they did. Then they had to pivot, went to Kyle Bloom because John Henry became a cheap SOB, shipped off Mookie Betts, shipped off Benintendi, shipped off, tried to ship off Jackie Bradley Jr., but that didn't end. That was almost an impossible task. But they got rid of JD Martinez. They got rid of everybody that meant something to the Red Sox in 2018. And that's why I sit here and I go, thank God that the Celtics, the Celtics are still playing and that they're in a deep playoff run. And the Bruins at least got to the second round, and made that a 6-game series. So it's because I've been so focused on them that it's been kind of nice to tune into the Sox whenever I felt like it, type of deal. It's like, after 10 straight days of Bruins, Celtics, now I can, start tuning into the Sox. And I'm watching exactly what I thought we were going to get. Now, they have been slightly better than what I thought because I really wanted them to be trash. I really did because I wanted that to be a message to John Henry to say, hey, you're paying for this effing product, so go shove it. You better be paying for a real team next offseason type of deal. But, they're average. That's this team. They are at best average. 81-81 is what this Red Sox team is. And the only reason why this team is 28-28 is because the starting pitching has been elite, allowing them to overcome the deficits that they have on offense because it's been wildly inconsistent. And of course, some of these younger guys are still trying to get a feel for major league pitching and all of that, which they totally get. Again, it's major league pitching. But if you're telling me that this team can be successful with a Bobby Dahlback, then you're just so delusional. So delusional. That's why he's back in AAA. He's a AAA Hall of Famer. But when he comes up to the big leagues, God, does he suck. They should have sold him after 21. But again, Kyan Bloom is just the worst. And I want to say that it's all on him. But obviously with how Craig Breslow, started his tenure, that's where I do kind of am like, okay, maybe it's not Bloom's fault 100%, but at least when it comes to trading for prospects and dealing young guys to build the major league roster, because at the end of the day, you need to build the major league roster. Screw AAA, screw the minors, don't care. If you can get some guys through the system, great. That can turn out to be major league, good major league prospects, major league players, great. That's awesome. But at the end of the day, it's about building the major league roster. And so if you can get legit guys who have been playing in the majors, who have succeeded in the majors, and you can trade away guys when they hit their peak, like Bobby Dahlback, that's what should have happened. But they didn't. Kyan Bloom pushed out. So the starting pitching, again, has been really the sole provider of this team. Through 50 games, they had a 2.99 ERA, which was first or second best in baseball. Exactly. That's how good they were. But recently, through the last 5 games, now, again, this has to be understood that the entire staff that they started out the first 5 games with is not equal what has gone on because of injuries, trying to get rehab shots, all that stuff. So again, some guys are from the initial starting rotation, some other guys aren't. But the starting rotation has started to show their weaknesses because you have Cooper Criswell, who in his last outing went 4 innings, gave up 7 runs, 6 of which were earned. Tanner Houck had the best out of all the starters, going 6 innings, 1 run, 1 earned. Nick Pivetta couldn't get out of the 4th inning, going 3 1/3 with 5 runs and 5 earned. Cutter Crawford went 6 innings, giving up 5 runs and 5 earned. And Brian Bale's last start, while decent, he still had in my opinion, too many runs. Going 5 strong, not 5 strong, but 5 innings with giving up 3 runs, 3 of which were earned. So as a whole, the starting staff in the last 5 games have given up 21 runs, 20 of which were earned in 24 1/3 innings, which creates a 7.39 ERA for the whole staff. And they need to be better. I've been saying it, since the season started. It's great. they've gotten off to these hot starts. They've been the best staff in baseball, statistically speaking. Yet, when are they gonna hit that cliff? When are they gonna hit that cliff? And are we starting to see the rocks eroding out from underneath our feet? Because once the rocks start eroding, all of a sudden, the mountain's not going to be strong enough to hold us, which is goes right down. Cliff, see ya. So that's the $1 million question. And actually, that's not the $1 million question. The $1 million question is, what has prompted what looks to be like the beginning of the downfall for the pitching staff? Is it that there's enough footage on these guys that teams are finally starting to catch up to them? Or are they just not executing the way they have over the first 50 games? And right now, I'm going to say that it's the latter. It's the fact that they're not executing the same. But if this keeps up, if they are getting chased after the fourth inning, if they are, getting chased prior to the fifth, like before the fourth inning, and they're giving up 5, 6, 7 runs, then I will change my tune and say that they have found there's enough footage on these guys that other teams have found their tendencies and what they like to throw and when. And the hitters have finally caught up to it. So that's going to be the interesting question, to look at over, I would say, the course of the month of June. The month of June, I think, is going to tell you whether or not this staff is going to be worth investing in come the trade deadline, or if teams have caught up to it. Andrew Bailey's system is only good for the first, 2 months of the season, and then everything just collapses after that. And we really do have the starting staff that we thought we were going to get at the start of the season. So this next month, as today's episode indicates, it's May 30th. This month of June that's coming up, I think is going to really be a tell-all for whether or not the staff is going to be legit, if they can bounce back, or if we've just been overhyping them because statistically they just outperformed what they truly are as athletes. And that's going to be a tough question to answer, especially for a Red Sox staff that, quite frankly, has probably ranks last in terms of talent on the staff. Now, again, talent doesn't necessarily mean stats, but just from my eyes, Red Sox are definitely in the bottom tier of talent for the starting staff. But that's just me. What are your thoughts? Am I talking crazy? Again, don't forget, you can follow, like, share, subscribe, comment. Comment helps the algorithm here on YouTube. So comment. Don't forget to like, follow on X and Instagram, Boston Sports Summit, on X, Boss Sports Summit. Let me know. Is this going to be the beginning of the end for the Red Sox? Next, I want to move on to the Patriots. OTAs have been wrapped up for the second week. And big news coming out of Foxborough is that Drake May has signed a 4-year, $36.6 million deal, which I look at, everybody's like, oh, Drake May made it. No. There is a cap to the money in the draft. The teams know what position is worth and all of this stuff. So it's not like you can sign a Sam Bradford type contract, like where it is just through the roof, 100 million, there, 60 of it guaranteed. No. There's none of that anymore. The salary cap is capped off. So when I'm seeing Twitter blow up or X blow up about Drake May. Oh my God, look at him, the deal that he just got. 4 years, 36.6. What? That's insane. It's like, guys, can we please just pump the brakes just a little? Just a little. Realize that like the NFL draft positions are capped off. Okay? You don't need to blow your gasket. You can sit there and be happy that Drake May has signed a 4-year deal with the Pats. You know, that money's not an issue. Hey, if you put pen to paper, there we go. We're done. We hopefully have our future quarterback. That's it. That's all you got to say. I don't have to blow your mind, blow your gasket on that. I mean, come on, guys. You know, be better. Be better. Like, this is what happens when you don't have a top 5 draft pick for 20 plus years. But speaking of Drake May, one of the articles I saw on The Athletic I thought was kind of interesting, which was Chad Graff of The Athletic talking about the pros and cons of starting Drake May when. So he gave out 4 scenarios. You start week 1. He starts after the London game. Drake May starts after the bye week, which is the last bye week of the year, which is week 14. Or he sits all year. So the question is, how long should May sit? And that is something I want you to tell me. Tell me. You know, you can do it on Twitter. You can do it in the comments. You know, just let me know. When do you think Drake May should start for the New England Patriots? Because as Chad Graff points out, if he starts week 1, the pros are it gives the Patriots a full year to coach and work with May as the starter. He's going to get the most practice reps during the week, and it will give them a large sample of film to help their young quarterback grow. Now, for the cons of him starting week 1, it is a brutal schedule. Brutal schedule. Because he's going to be facing 3 of his first 4 games are going to be on the road. 5 of their first 6 have Super Bowl aspirations. Starting May out of the gate could be a massive risk to the number 3 overall draft pick, because not only could you hurt his confidence, but because the Patriots have a very questionable O-line, and obviously Cole Strange is not going to be back for the first quarter of the season at least. And again, how good was Cole Strange anyway? I mean, honestly. But with all the question marks surrounding O-line, not only could you mess this up, but you could also mess up his body, because week 1, they're going to be playing the Bengals, which means they're going to be playing Trey Hendrickson. In week 3, the Pats are going to be playing the Jets, where Quinnen Williams loves to get after the quarterback, especially a young buck. And then in week 4, the Pats are going to be playing the 49ers and playing against Nick Bosa, which stud. Okay? And if the Patriots O-line performs adequately, I still expect him to be hit at least 20 times. Again, QB hits at least 20 times in those 3 games alone. So it is a big risk, I think, in my opinion, for him to start week 1. But again, he's a professional. He's young. He's 21 years old. So those are the pros and cons for week 1. Now, if he starts after the London game, he's obviously going to miss the first couple of months, because the London game takes place on October 20th. So he wouldn't start until October 27th, a day before my birthday, fun fact. But his pros of starting after the London game would be he wouldn't be jet lagged for the game against the Jets. He will miss the first couple of months, which will mean he will learn under Jacoby Brissett how he handles the preparation, goes about week to week, sees how he carries himself for right before each game day. And then his first NFL start would be at home. His first NFL start would be at home, which, again, at the end of the day, don't you want to start at home? Don't you want to be in front of your home fans? You can get that, energy, that burst of energy, and feel great about yourself. Of course, Boston loves Drake May right now. And I think we're going to love Drake May. As long as he can perform and he can win, I think we'll give him at least, a year to see kind of what happens. And we're not going to boo him like we booed Mac Jones. And if we boo him right out of the gate, let's say he does start against the Jets October 27th after the London game, and that's his very first game. I'm telling you, if he throws 4 picks and all of Gillette Stadium is booing him, then my worst fears have been confirmed in that we've officially become Philadelphia fans, because that's ridiculous. He's a rookie. His team just finished playing in London, and that is the biggest con for starting after the London game, because while I mentioned earlier, Quinton Williams playing week 3, again, loves getting after the quarterback, and the Jets defense is a very good defense and will be obviously a tough first matchup, but the rest of the team played over in London a week prior. So now they're coming back. They're playing at home. Yeah, great. But they're going to be tired. Their body's going to have to adjust to the new schedule. And if they're playing Sunday, that means they're going to have to fly all the way back. They're going to have to take at least a couple of days to get their body acclimated. And then they're going to have to get back to practice. And will they be ready? Will they be ready to play on October 27th? So that is the pros and cons. Excuse me. That is the pros and cons to starting after the London game. Now, if we want to wait all the way until after week 14, because week 14 is the Patriots bye, which is the last bye week of the season, what do you have? Well, the pros are you have nearly a full season to learn, with only a few games at the end to see what he can do to be able to build on for 2025. You get 4 games. You're going against some pretty decent defenses, including the Chargers and Bills at home. So let's see what you got. Maybe we can take some good, some bad, and just focus on that come the offseason, which I think would be great, right? I mean, it would make the most sense. But here are a couple of the cons that Chad Graff pointed out. The first one is obviously it's a wicked late start with only 4 games left. And the first game, so they get the bye week, and in week 15, they have to fly all the way to Arizona. In week 16, they have to fly all the way to Buffalo. So they're going to have to go from Foxborough to Arizona, back to Foxborough to Buffalo, to back to Foxborough. That's a lot of traveling right there. Go out west, come back, fly to Buffalo to come back. I mean, it's not like you're playing the Chargers, out west, and you can handle being out west for your whole bye week, and then you can go to Arizona, which is a hop, skip, and a jump from LA, and then you can fly back home. You're going to be home in Foxborough, going all the way to Arizona. So that is tough, just physical toll of that flying. Now, of course, he's going to be flying with the team. He's going to be traveling, doing all that. And this is, again, all predicated on the fact that Jacoby Brissett is the starter and he doesn't get injured. But the travel schedule this season is tough, let alone the defenses that the Pats are going to have to face. And then, of course, the last scenario that Graff mentions is that Drake May sits all year. The pro being Elliott Wolf worked with the Packers. His dad was a massive influence on Green Bay's history, getting Brett Favre from Atlanta. And obviously, Elliott Wolf understands sitting Aaron Rodgers for a couple of years, letting him start, obviously sitting Jordan Love for a couple of years, and now he gets to start, and look what happened to Jordan Love. But, and who knows, maybe that'll work. But the problem with that is both Rodgers and Love were mid to late round picks. I think if, memory serves right, both of which were early 20s. This is the number 3 overall draft pick. And you're going to sit him for a full year? I mean, that's just kind of, that's, you're paying him nearly $10 million a year to sit because you want him to learn the NFL and learn the game, which I get. Like, don't get me wrong. I understand him sitting for a full year. Part of me wants him to sit for a full year as well because, that has its merits. It absolutely has its merits. I mean, Jordan Love, if he started 2 years ago, I don't think he'd be in the league anymore. But obviously, the con behind that is the sooner you know what you have, the better. At the end of the day, you're never going to know what Drake May is going to look like on the football field until you get him on the football field. Which leads me to Gerard Mayo having a couple of comments about Drake May getting on the field.
Somebody like Drake, more reps that aren't necessarily out here on the field with him behind center. And do you subscribe to more is better for a young guy, or does that hit a certain point?
In my opinion, look, it's a case-by-case basis, but I would also say it's not only what's done out here on the football field. And I know when we talk about meetings, we usually talk about, like sitting at a desk and taking notes, but we have spaces inside the building where you can actually go out there and get real-life looks at, the defenses and go through the calls with coaches. So he'll get it.
So what does he mean by, obviously going in the meeting room, we're talking about studying the game, seeing the game, but what does he mean by you can get real life looks at defenses and coverages? He goes on to explain actually in the very next question.
Is that virtual reality? I only asked, I know Elliot Wolf mentioned something yesterday on a radio
show
about that.
Look, the virtual stuff is great, and that's another way that you can steal some of those reps without being on the football field. And absolutely, we're interested in that type of technology. We have rooms in the building that have some of that technology. But obviously technology changes every single day. We're looking for.
That's it. It's technology. It's VR. It's virtual reality, because virtual reality is the exact same as being out on the football field. What a joke. What a joke. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some benefits to it. I'm not going to discredit it completely. But what I am going to say about it is, again, it's crazy to me to think that you can program a system, right? You can program a video game. Let's just call it a video game, a virtual reality, whatever. You can program that to make it fit exactly what is going out onto the field. And the simulation is real, that the players are coming at you full speed, full time. The mixing of the coverages is full speed, full time. No, it's not. You can help yourself. I mean, at best, I think the best thing you can do is be able to recognize the different coverages that end up happening. But if you think that you're going to equate everything that happens on virtual reality to everything that happens on the field, I mean, come on. That's just not reality, And I don't understand. I mean, I do understand why teams are trying to build up this virtual reality system, trying to build up this virtual reality, trying to say, hey, look, you can do this. You can go up against Calvin Johnson. You can go up against, if you're a DB, you can go up against Calvin Johnson or Terrell Owens or Jerry Rice, and you can practice on them. Or, if you're Drake May, you can have a defensive line coming at you consistent of Lawrence Taylor, Reggie White, Willie McGinnis. What? No. No, that's ridiculous. Like how is that going to benefit you? Like out on the field, how is that going to benefit you? I don't think it will. I don't think it does. And I mean, they're like outside of dissecting everything, outside of dissecting what, you can see on the field to try to play the game. Nah. You gotta get out on the field because, Brian Dawkins can be programmed into the virtual reality system. Troy Polamalu could be programmed in the virtual reality system, but they do things differently than safeties today. Who's to say that, again, the way Troy Polamalu lined himself up, and this could be just strictly Troy. This didn't have to be Dick LeBeau with Pittsburgh. No. Troy could do this. Troy could line himself up as a middle linebacker, maybe a step off. And next thing you know, he's sprinting out to the sideline because he disguised a cover 2. Meanwhile, Brian Dawkins is hugging the sideline, and that's the cover 2. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much nuance to it that I don't know how it's going to fully translate onto the football field. Because you might be looking at it saying like, oh, this is how they're going to disguise it. Well, no, because Jawan Thornhill doesn't disguise a cover 2 the way Troy Polamalu does. You know what I mean? So the other question that I have is, so we're talking about Drake May starting, right? That's the big question. When is Drake May gonna start, right? And the other thought that I had was, again, the coaching staff isn't the best. Alex Van Pelt was hired by Elliott Wolf. Ben McAdoo was hired by Elliott Wolf, not Gerard Mayo. And that's where you got to sit there and go, like, shame on Gerard. Because if he knew he was going to be the next guy, he should have had every single coach that he wanted lined up. And you know what? Maybe he did. But everybody turned him down because they're looking at the Patriots roster and what was to come. And they're like, yo, screw that. That's going to kill my career, not help it. So when looking at the staff, what do they have? Alex Van Pelt as the offensive coordinator, T.C. McCartney as the quarterback coach, and Ben McAdoo as the senior offensive assistant. This is their resume. Van Pelt never called plays with the Browns except one game. Left it all up to the head coach. He was the quarterback's coach with the Bengals from 18 to 19, the Packers from 14 to 17, the running backs coach from 12 to 13 with the Packers, and the quarterback's coach for the Buccaneers from 10 to 11. McCartney, no idea who the hell this guy is. He started his career as a quality control coach for the Niners in 17 to 18, and then he was the quarterback coach for the Broncos in 19, offensive assistant with the Browns under Van Pelt, and then was the tight ends coach. I think I screwed. I think I meant to write 22, not 2020. But for the last 2 seasons, he was the tight end coach. Ben McAdoo, on the other hand, God, what a history he has. He was the quarterback coach for the Packers from 12 to 13, the QB coach for the Giants from 14 to 15. He was the head coach for 2 seasons before he was unceremoniously booted out of New York. If that man shows his face on Broadway, you can expect people to be chucking anything they have at him because of how badly he messed up the Giants. That's right. This dude messed up the Giants so bad that he was out of football for 3 years until the Jaguars came a calling in 2020 and offered him the quarterback coach job. Then, while getting paid by Jacksonville, was the Cowboys consultant. That's how you know he's getting paid by another team in 2021. And then was the offensive coordinator for the Panthers last season. 2 seasons ago. and is still under the Panthers the Panthers contract. And so the Patriots hired him because they don't have to pay him a dime. So again, with these three jamokes, these three bums, do you trust Alex Van Pelt, T.C. McCartney, and Ben McAdoo to be able to get Drake May ready to go to see what, to make him a successful franchise quarterback in the NFL? If you ask me, hell no. And listen, I'm not trying to sit here and be pessimistic. I don't want to be. I want to be excited. I am excited for Drake May. But if you're talking to the logical sense in me, yeah, I'm nervous, man. I'm sitting there going, what the hell is this? You know, we have no friggin' offensive gurus here. You know, Alex Van Pelt's system is built on play action pass. It's built on the West Coast system. And while the West Coast system worked, past tense, it's been evolved over and over and over to this point now where it's like it's obsolete. The system that works is the Sean McVay system, the Kyle Shanahan system. And the system that Alex Van Pelt runs is bare bones what those systems are. And while it does help to have Jacoby Brissett, who knows Van Pelt's system, again, what are we doing? Do you trust Ben McAdoo, T.C. McCartney, and Alex Van Pelt to have Drake May not only ready to face NFL defenses, but be successful, be the franchise quarterback, be the Mac Jones his rookie year? And guess who his offensive coordinator was? Josh McDaniel. And Josh McDaniel is a very successful offensive coordinator. So that's why I'm scared. Because I'm looking at this going, really? This is what we have? These guys? Are you sure? Are you sure? Well, according to Robert Kraft, Jonathan Kraft, they're sure. So I don't know. I don't know. I want Drake May to work out. I really do. I just hope that these guys can get him ready. That's going to be the $1 million question. Because who knows at this point? And the last thing I do want to cover, because going from one offseason to another, the Boston Bruins. Now, the Boston Bruins, as I talked about last week, you still have a good amount of cap space available for them to go out and make moves, go out and sign high-priced free agents, multiple high-priced free agents, if they're willing to spend and make this team a cup contender. Right now, this team has the talent to make the playoffs. I don't think this team is talented enough to get past the first round, let alone the second round, as long as the NHL still keeps this stupid format of, no, if you win your division, you can play the last wild card team, but the last wild card team still could be like a 90, 100 point win team. You know what I mean? So one of the biggest moves that they're going to have to figure out is moving Linus Allmark's 1 year, $5 million to free up that $5 million I talked about last week. And Sportsnet's Elliot Friedman has a podcast called was on the 32 Thoughts podcast. And he was talking about Boston and Carolina potentially making or finding a way to make a deal to send Linus to Carolina for 25-year-old winger Martin Necas. Take a listen.
us, yes.
But I do believe the Bruins and the Hurricanes talked about an Allmark deal. Now, I don't know if it involved Natchez, but I do think they talked about something. And I can't remember if we specifically mentioned the Bruins at the time or not, but we definitely talked about something with Allmark and an Eastern Conference team. Now,
Martin Necas, now he does specify that he doesn't know if Necas was part of those discussions, but I'll tell you, if Necas is a part of those discussions and he's on the table, I am in, baby. I am so in. He's 25 years old. He's a restricted free agent, former 12th overall pick in 2017. He tallied 9 points in 11 games this playoffs, and since 2019 is a plus 20 with 96 goals, 145 assists, and 241 points in 354 games. Necas ranked in the 97th percentile of NHL players in top skating speed and was 99th percentile of speed burst over 20 miles per hour, according to the NHL Edge puck and player tracker data. Speed kills, baby. What did Matt Groh say? You know, like if you wanna be a speed team, then you gotta get speed or something like that. I would love to have Martin Necas on this team because that's the other thing. Like we need center depth, absolutely, like you read about, but we need talent on the wingers. And I'm sorry, Jake DeBrusk is at best a third line winger. He is. You know, if you want him to succeed, he's got to be on the third or fourth line. He is not a top tier guy. He's not reliable enough to be a top six guy. He's not. And so to get Martin Necas and giving up Allmark, you're going to have to pay. You're going to have to pay for him. You're going to probably roughly between 6 to 8. I think it's reported to keep Necas, but he's also good defensively. He's plus 20 over 5 years now. And so that speed can also be good on the forecheck, which the Bruins are in desperate need of. They how many times do the Bruins get the puck and dump it in, let the other team get it while they go off the skate? Meanwhile, the other team is already at the neutral zone before Boston can even get together, right? Boston needs to be aggressive. They need to be like Florida. Florida was extremely aggressive on their forecheck. That's in their nature. That's just who they are. But Boston needs some of that. Boston needs that aggressiveness to be like, let's go. Come on. We're gonna be down your throat because we're gonna make it a living hell on you. And with his speed, you can do that. And with his speed, you're gonna have those defensemen at the blue line backed up a little bit more than usual because he can get that puck. And if he's able to split the defense, boy, see ya, breakaway. I would love to have Martin Necas on this team. But another surprising note came out of the Hockey News. The Hockey News wrote up an article talking about the Senators and Linus Ullmark. And what they wrote up was a post-media report last week claimed the Senators GM Steve Stiles attempted to acquire Ullmark before the trade deadline, offering up Korpisalo in return, which the Bruins obviously declined because Jonas Korpisalo sucks as a goaltender. The report suggests Stiles could revisit his interest in the Bruins netminder, citing a league executive proposing a package offer with Jacob Chychrun as the centerpiece. And for those of you who don't, Jacob Chychrun was the guy that the Bruins were trying to get out of Arizona to match up with Charlie McAvoy because the dude is a top 4 defenseman. Hell, he's probably a top 2 defenseman with a legit offensive-minded mentality, which love it. Because while Hampus Lindholm is supposed to be this, great offensive defenseman, Yeah, he's not. He just hasn't been, at least come playoff time. And so Chychrun has a year left on his contract and faces an uncertain future with his current club, the Senators. His $4.6 million cap hit would make it a dollar for dollar, practically, swap, addressing the Bruins' need for a top four left-sided defenseman. Cool. The executive believed Stiles must include a first-round pick and another selection in that package to acquire Allmark. Really? Really? Now, how could you say no to that? You get Jacob Chychrun, a future first rounder, and another pick for Linus Allmark? Where do I sign? Come on, let's go. Give me the piece of paper. Yep, done deal. See ya. Linus, get the hell out of Boston. Love you, mean it, but bye-bye. The next plane leaves in 20 minutes from Logan Airport, and don't worry, we'll get you there. That is a no friggin' brainer. But of course, goes on to say, Bruins GM Don Sweeney could leap at that offer for Allmark. Could? No. Should leap at that offer. But Stiles won't make that pitch. Goaltenders, even former Vezina winners, rarely fetch that type of return nowadays. Stiles would also want assurances that Allmark would sign a contract extension before agreeing to a deal. And there lies the issue, is that Allmark not only has a 16-team no-trade clause, which I would not be shocked if Ottawa was on that list, because I think he wants all of Canada on that list. Like he wants nothing to do with Canada. And so if somehow Ottawa isn't on that list and he would accept that deal, again, the only way we would get that offer, if that offer was even thought of, even wanted to be presented, would be if Linus would sign the extension. And therein lies the issue with trying to trade Linus Allmark, I think, anywhere. Even if Carolina was on his list and Martin Necas was discussed, I think Carolina is going to want to sit there and be like, all right, yeah, we'll do this deal. We'll sweeten the pot for you, Boston. But we also need to talk to Linus to make sure that he'll sign the deal, sign the contract. And therein lies, I think, the big issue. Which, listen, I love Allmark. I love everything that he's done for the Bruins and think he's done a great job with it. I think, he seems like a really down-to-earth, just a cool, nice dude. But again, it's a business. And the Bruins have to figure out a way to make their team better. And unfortunately, goalie hugs do not make this team better. Swayman's got to be the number one guy. We got to see what Brandon Bussi has. That dude, he's a restricted free agent. So Boston has a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do this offseason. And my hope is that they can do it. They can pull it off. And because I don't want the Bruins to be the third team in 9 months to tell me they're going to go big and then fall flat on their face. Because I feel like that's what we're destined for. 2024 offseason, the year of being lied to as Boston fans, is what could happen if the Bruins don't make any major acquisitions this offseason. So, I don't know. I'm excited. I think it should be a good one. There's definitely a lot to talk about. And with the Celtics, winding down, the Red Sox are going to start to be picking up again. So let's hope we can at least get a championship under our belt before we have to even consider the Red Sox. That's the number one topic. But I want to thank you guys for tuning in, for watching, for listening. Don't forget, please like, share, subscribe. Follow the Grid Network's YouTube channel. That's where this show is going to be. Today was an anomaly. Thursday at 4. It's usually every Wednesday, 7 o'clock. I had a 24-hour bug. Didn't feel good yesterday. So, that's that's why I postponed. But follow the Grid Network YouTube channel. Also, Boston Sports Summit's YouTube channel, posting shorts, clips, segments, all that fun stuff. And don't forget, I am most active on social media, so you can follow me on X at Boss, B-O-S, Sports Summit. And then on Instagram, Boston Sports Summit. I'll be talking, going over Celtics games, NBA Finals. I might be going live a couple of times during the NBA Finals, so check in on that. And then, you can find the show on the Grid Network's YouTube channel every Wednesday, 7 p.m. For the Boston Sports Summit presented by the Grid Network, I am your host, Tim Barnard, and this is your podcast for all of Boston sports. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you all next Wednesday. Have a great rest of your weekend, great rest of your week and weekend. God bless. Thank you.